Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and today we're going to be talking about college football and specifically who I think the top 5 best wide receivers in college football are. But before we get started, do not forget to subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Please share it with a friend if you enjoy it as well. It would mean a lot. I'd appreciate it quite a bit. So with that said, let's get it started. Number 1. The best wide receiver in college football, Devonta Smith. No doubt about it. The Alabama senior right now, he is unstoppable. He's uncoverable. He has so many ways to beat you with his, whether it be with his elusive ability, with his run after catch, with his great route running. He can run all the routes in the route tree, or just straight line speed. He has so many ways that he can do it. Really, really a fantastic player. Might be the most complete wide receiver as well. Like I just mentioned, can so many ways to beat you. Really electric as well. A lot of people get caught up with Jalen Waddle and how electric and explosive he is, but Devonta Smith is just as athletic and explosive as Jalen Waddle. He may not, take back a lot of punt returns or have as many, 75-yard touchdowns, catches, but he can make just as big plays as Waddle can, and it shows. In three of his last 4 games, he has 50-plus yard receptions, and in 2 of them, he has 60-plus yard receptions that have gone for touchdowns. So he's really getting downfield and making those plays, and a lot of those yards come from run after catch. Smith has 140-plus yards in all 4 of his last 4 games, and in 2 of them, he has 200-plus yards. I mean, that is ridiculous. In his last 4 games, he also has 11 touchdowns, and total this season, he has 15 touchdowns. He is playing incredible football, and right now, he's well over 1,000 yards receiving. How good a brand of football he's playing is just insane. He is uncoverable, so dominant week to week. I mean, defensive coordinators, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm going up against Alabama, I am scared so bad of going up against this guy because there's no way you can stop him. He's going to beat you. It's just a fact of playing Alabama, and it's truly scary. Even though Ja'Marr Chase isn't playing this year, and even though Ja'Marr Chase will be in this upcoming draft, Devonta Smith still may be a better player than Ja'Marr Chase. That's how good he is this year. That's how much of a step forward he's taken from last year to 2020. Number 2 is going to be Devonta Smith's teammate at Alabama, the guy that we mentioned previously, Jalen Waddle. He isn't as a complete wide receiver as Smith, but he's the most explosive player in college football. Fantastic punt returner as well. He's going to add a lot of value to his future NFL team in the punt returning game as well, because any time he returns a punt, it could go for 6. Really, really good. He's like that Tyreek Hill type of player. Anytime he gets the ball in his hand, it could go for 6. Really, really electric and so elusive. He makes so many guys miss with his elusive moves and honestly with his just straight up speed. He ran a 4.27 40-yard dash before he enrolled at Alabama in high school. So who knows what he's going to run at the combine, but we can expect it to be low 4.3s in that 4.2 range potentially. That's how fast he is. He's only played 4 games this year, but he's had 100-plus yards in every single one of those games. And he isn't just a deep ball threat either. He can run those short, intermediate routes and get a lot of yards after the catch that way. And he's going to add a lot of volume in terms of receptions at that position as well. He's not just a couple receptions, go for 100 yards and a touchdown kind of player. He can be, with time. I don't think he's quite there like Devonta Smith is, but with time, he could potentially be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL. Number 3, very similar player to Jalen Waddle. Just there's one knock on him, which I'll get to in a second, but Rondale Moore from Purdue. Moore is just as explosive as Jalen Waddle. He's 5'9", he's a little guy, but boy can he run. He runs a 4.33 40-yard dash, and he's the quickest, I think, he's the quickest player in college football. And what I mean by that is he's so shifty. He can make jukes so well. And, it's almost impossible to get in front of him with those jukes because they're so good and so effective. He's so quick in and out of those breaks and those jukes, those spins. It's really hard to stop him. He's the best run after catch player in the nation, and a lot of that has to do with how elusive he is. He's almost like a running back with how good after the catch he is. And he has that stature, 5'9". He basically is a running back. Catches a lot of shorter, intermediate passes and gets most of his yardage after the catch. But much like Waddle, he's not a 3-catch, 100-yard, and 1 touchdown kind of guy who only makes a couple big plays and doesn't leave as big of an impact. Honestly, you could literally say the exact opposite about Rondale Moore. Throughout his freshman year, he racked up 114 receptions, and that was first in the entire FBS. He also totaled 12 touchdowns, so he's getting in the end zone a fair bit also. And also, throughout this season, he's only played 3 games because Purdue is in the Big Ten and they haven't really played a lot of games. He had 15 receptions in his first game, 7 in the second game, and 13 in his third game. So he's showing consistently he's going to be that number 1 guy for you, and he's going to be uber reliable in catching the ball and making plays for your team. The only issue with Moore, the only real significant issue, is his health. He had a season-ending injury in 2019, and like I said earlier, he's a really small guy, and there's a lot of questions about his ability to stay on the field. But if he can stay on the field, no doubt he is a baller, and he's going to be a potential superstar for one team in the NFL. But, he's a one-man wrecking crew on that Purdue offense now. I really like this guy out of Purdue. He is a superstar in the making. Number 4 on the list, we have Rashad Bateman from Minnesota. Now, Bateman, besides Smith, is probably the most complete wide receiver out of all of these 5 guys. He can play inside and outside the slot, which is a really sought-after skill today in the current NFL, modern-day NFL. His route running is elite and doesn't need to win with speed often because his routes are so efficient and so quick. He's not a Moore or Waddle kind of fast guy, but he's super quick, gets in and out of his breaks really fast. And, just because he doesn't win with speed all the time because of his route running doesn't mean he doesn't have the speed to be an elite deep threat kind of guy. He ran a 4.4 40-yard dash in high school, and that is phenomenal for a player of his size specifically, but phenomenal for any player of any size to begin with. But Bateman stands 6'2", and he's running a 4.4. That is incredible. Really good. He is a phenomenal height, weight, speed kind of guy, and that's another thing that is really looked for in college prospects going into the NFL, because you want to have a versatile player, and Bateman fits that bill to perfection. He's going to be a star in the NFL. I think probably a late first, early second kind of guy, but he's a very talented player out of Minnesota, and it's kind of a shame that he's in Minnesota right now because he's not like Rondale Moore actually. Their team isn't very good this season, so they're not getting a lot of press. They're not getting the recognition they deserve for how good they actually are, for how good of players that they actually are. They're right up here with the Waddles and the Smiths of the world. And rounding out the list, number 5, we have Tylan Wallace, the Oklahoma State wide receiver. Wallace, just like Rashad Bateman, is another height, weight, speed kind of guy. 6 feet tall, 190 pounds. Not as big as Bateman, but has the tools that Bateman does to be very successful. Can play inside and outside, just like Bateman can. Like I said, very valuable skill to have in today's NFL. He's kind of like DK Metcalf in the sense that he does a few things really great, but he kind of needs to work on a couple other things. He needs to work on his route tree a little bit, but he's one of the best deep ball and contested catches guys in college football. That's really where he gets his stats and produces and makes his biggest plays with contested catches down the field. And, that's very good because in the NFL, probably 80% of the catches you're going to have to make are contested. So that's something really valuable to get used to in the college football world, and not relying on your speed or your route running in college football to get you there, because a lot of times that doesn't really translate over to the NFL so well, but being able to high point the ball does, and that's a very valuable skill that can be taught, but a lot better if it comes pre-made in a prospect. Another thing with Wallace, really, really good, is he's never had a great quarterback or wide receiver next to him on that offense. And in his sophomore year, he recorded 1,491 yards and 12 touchdowns. In 2019, he only played 8 games, but still had 903 yards and 8 touchdowns. He's kind of like that DeAndre Hopkins guy when he was on the Texans. Never really has a great supporting cast, but always puts up big plays, makes huge plays for his offense, and kind of, even though he's not like the quarterback or the running back who's getting the ball quite a lot, he kind of wheels his team over the hump and just has that kind of nature about him that I want to win. I'm going to make the play right here to give my team that edge. Wallace is that kind of player. Never had those great pieces around him, but still incredibly consistent and a superstar player. That is a wrap for episode 8 of the First and Goal on YouTube. Hope you enjoyed the list. If you go comment down below if you agree with the list, what you would do different. Please subscribe and share with a friend if you enjoyed. Stay up to date on the First and Goal podcast, available wherever you listen to your podcast. Check out the website, firstandgoalfootballtalk.com, to see everything that I post on, and to see all the articles that I post, and to see everything that I post on all platforms. Check out the Twitter, First and Goal FB. That is the Twitter handle. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time on First and Goal.